All right, we should be live. Let's get a quick audio and visual check. Please let me know if everything is okay. Just blasting off the message. If you're watching the replay, I would advise that you skip forward to 2 minutes in. Don't go too much further than that, just to make sure that everything's working fine, because this is a live stream that I definitely do not want to have technical issues with. So bear with me. I know there's a black screen right now. So really all I'm trying to test is my audio. Yeah, big move in the market, guys. I want to give you guys my thoughts on exactly what I think is happening. Do I think that we're going to be entering some sort of massive scary bear market, or is this something a lot less scary? You're going to be listening to my calming and soothing voice for the next hour or two. So here we go. All right, let's fire ahead. Let me see your comments. All good, thank you very much. Perfect. All right, so guys, if you're excited for this one, do me a favor, smash up the likes. It is 6:30 in the morning here in the UK, and so that means I'm quite tired because I'm actually working off Dubai time, which means that my body's in 10 a.m. So I've been up for a whole 24 hours or something, and now I'm live in front of an audience of thousands of people. So not a normal Saturday morning. If you do appreciate that, do me a favor and smash up the likes. But let's get into the fun for this live stream. Bitcoin, everything's fine, perfect. Bitcoin has seen a hell of a dip right here in this market. We ended up getting that rejection at the 4-hour Ichimoku Cloud that I was warning you guys about, and that alone deserves a massive thumbs up, because this would have saved a lot of people from the potential crash right here. And then yeah, Bitcoin actually did manage to lose its low as soon as we went back down to it, which is something that I outlined was possible in my previous video that went live, I don't know, like 12 hours ago. But I actually said that I wasn't expecting this to happen. So I think that this dump is really going to be catching a lot of people off guard right now. And I think we'll start to see this in the Fear and Greed Index, which has, yes, updated. Although, guys, worth noting that the update only happened in the past, I don't know, like 6 hours. So yeah, in the past 6.5 hours is when the dump is when this update happened. And I just want to put this into perspective for you all real quick on this chart. Where are we? This is the Dubai time zone chart, so it's 11 a.m, 10 a.m. there right now. No, 11, no, 10. And that means the dump would have initiated at about 4 a.m. in Dubai. So the last update we got on the Fear and Greed Index was when the market was here, and that's showing us that we were at a reading of 25. So now officially, according to this website, the Fear and Greed Index, we were officially in extremely fearful territory in terms of the market sentiment. And I have to remind you guys about how they collect this data, right? There's a bunch of different sources. I think there's a link to this website in the description, but if there's not, just Google this. But there's multiple sources that they're taking into account, and this is very important, right? What I don't want you guys to be doing is watching my YouTube analysis and watching other people's YouTube analysis and just fucking digesting the information and not questioning it yourself. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna get some stuff wrong. Other people are gonna get some stuff wrong, and that's without even accounting for the possibility of just downright having some, slightly inaccurate speech where I don't describe something fully as it is by accident, which everybody does in daily life. So if you don't question this stuff yourself, you're going to find yourself in a very, very bad position at times like this. So it's extremely important to have that critical thinking for yourself. And if you feel too lazy to even implement that, this is where you get the channel of no bullshit. You need to get the fuck out of these markets right now, because a drop like this is going to leave you clueless. And you're going to be holding your ass wondering what the fuck just happened, and you're about to lose a lot more money after this again. So if that's your kind of attitude and you're not willing to give it that attention that this needs right now, you are going to lose money. Just leave. Very, very important point. And I'm only saying this because I was there before. But let's get back to the analysis right here. 25 on the on the Fear and Greed Index, and that reading came in when the market was, I mean, what, like $6,000 higher? I don't know, I'm bad at math. something like that, $5,000 higher, right? And the market's now dumped a lot more. We fell all the way down to $42,000. What a plot twist. Definitely did not expect that to happen so quickly. We lost our one-day Ichimoku Cloud, but all of that happened after this reading was updated. So I think it's fair to say that if we had a reading of 25 right here, we're at least now, if this update was to happen in real time, we would at least be at a reading of, say, 20. We are at very, very fearful levels is the point. You know, I mean, the last time that we were trading around here was the very end of September, and let's just forecast, let's just take a look back at what happened at the end of September. Bitcoin was trading down at actually roughly the same levels as where we dropped down to just now. You know, we were trading down over here, and I find this to be very poetic, right? You know, something that I want to point out to you guys right now is you know, look, I know a lot of you guys want some easy, quick answers from me right now, and let me make this point very, very clear. I don't think that the market is dead, and I think that Bitcoin is going to have a lot of you know, upside potential from here, and I think that that can happen very soon as well. I've already given a very detailed message about this to all of my VIPs, and if you're not already in, this is exactly the time that people want to be inside ForFly's VIP. This is the time where the real millionaires are made. This is the time where we absolutely have a chance to slay the markets, because the psychology is running so wild. So if you didn't have a chance to get in on our amazing sale, that's fine. You can still get in right now. For those of you who didn't act fast enough, you've already missed out on something huge. Don't miss out on what could be coming next. But one thing that I think is quite poetic about this, which I want to convey alongside the whole theory that I don't think Bitcoin is actually in a bear market, is that the last time we had such catastrophically low readings of fear and greed was in this general area of the chart. And I don't want you to focus on the price level, I want you to focus on the time in Bitcoin's history. So what I'm actually going to do is remove all of these lines, and I'm just going to place two vertical lines, right? The first, the most recent time that we had this level of extreme fear was roughly in this time gap, and now we've just entered it again. So let's say it's roughly going to be in a time gap like this, that we're in extreme fear, you know, at these lows. And so we're seeing this in both cases after coming from a very big uptrend. Look at this. And let me actually move this line to make it a little bit more accurate. I can say that the time the market was very fearful was actually just in this little time gap. And the reason that I'm doing this right now, guys, is I want you to visualize something very important. One of the key things I try to do, and what I did inside of the ForFly's VIP group at times like this, is acknowledge that I am right now being a victim of the same emotional, scary things that everyone else is going through right now, for sure. I'm not bloody Superman, I'm a normal human being, but at the end of the day, what I have as a major advantage over everyone else in this market right now is that I can detach myself from that completely and evaluate myself in a very, very objective way. And that's exactly what I want to show you guys right now. Again, this is not stuff that's going to directly make you money, but you better believe that if you don't have this shit locked down, you're not getting anywhere close to consistent returns in these markets. You may as well go to the casino and pick up a fucking dice and roll it, because you're not going to have better chances than this, in my opinion. So guys, if you appreciate that stuff, do me a favor and smash up the likes. It's 6:40 a.m. here in the UK, and I want to make this one blow up to make it absolutely worth it staying up this late and live streaming for you all. So here's the deal. We formed these massive moves up, which were actually very, very aggressive. And so in turn, we had to get our aggressive sell-offs. And the previous one ended when we fell down to absolutely ridiculously low levels. But the fear and greed index rating at this point was roughly the same as where it's at right now in this time gap. Again, we're not focusing on prices, we're just focusing on the time, so the x-axis down here. And at that point, the market was very, very scared, right? The market was very scared that we were going to drop down. People were very, very bearish, and so they were making perhaps irrational decisions and so on. And that is what led this market to eventually bottom out, because that's usually when we do it, is when the masses absolutely give up hope and decide that they'd rather tie a noose around their neck and jump off a bucket. it's at times like those that you start to see markets potentially starting to reverse. And I just think that it's very poetic that the next time that we're seeing exactly the same situation, it's coming after another extremely strong rally where realistically the market, in my opinion, was not actually that weak, right? The market had a pretty good chance at breaking up towards brand new all-time highs, and real all-time highs, by the way. It had a good chance of doing that, I thought, up until around over here. And so actually more so around over here. And so, you know, what I think is very important to acknowledge here is that, you know, this drop, I don't think this drop is happening because Bitcoin is particularly weak in any real way. I think that this can only be a response to extreme price action, right? I think that's a very important baseline to go off, because if you start looking at other shitcoins like Shiba, you know, you'll start to see something very important here, which is that, you know, while Bitcoin has dropped from its all-time high, I don't know, let's say down by 30%, a shitcoin like this has dropped by 60%. And I know that doesn't sound like a much bigger drop, but when you consider that this coin has to recover double to just be as bad as Bitcoin right now, and then it has to double again to get back up to break even, you know, it's math that looks roughly like that, well then all of a sudden, it's actually, the math doesn't look like that, but my point is I want to convey the exponentials. It's then actually going to start making a lot more sense for why I'm not worried about Bitcoin, right? Because when something like this happens in an altcoin market, yeah, it's fucked, it might never come back. That's because they were shit to begin with. But when it's something like Bitcoin, and by the way, you better believe I'm going to be rubbing this shit in your faces tonight, ladies and gents. Not for those of you who were just kind viewers, but for those of you who were ripping me apart when I was warning you guys of this shitcoin trading down to this support level, and bam, right there, happening. Definitely a little bit delayed on schedule there, but we did end up falling down to my eventual price target for Shiba, which was this 3,000 area. So yes, I'm going to be talking about that, and I'm going to be giving you guys a lot of analysis about this. But you guys who are here, who remembered me making that warning, do me a favor and smash up the likes. This is exactly where this stuff becomes very fun for me, because obviously when you're a realistic analyst, you're not going to be right for a very long time, and then you're going to be very, very right. And to me, that's where the real fun comes in, because yes, the people who got the joy of the little moves will have made some, you know, small amounts of money, but those who really stay initiated here, this is where the big sums are made. And to me, that's what's very exciting. So the key thing that's different with Bitcoin and these other shitcoins is that this is not a shitcoin, right? It has real tech behind it. It's not weaker now over here than it was over here from a technological point of view. And so I think that's an important baseline to come off, because that allows us to then rule out, okay, well, the market's probably not going down to $0. It's probably not going down to $10,000 or $5,000, right? It's just, it has a very low probability of dying. And that's important to get out of the way, because then anything else that happens from there probably means that this uptrend is eventually going to re-continue. And again, just to take note of the patterns that we have right now, I think the fact that we're looking at similar fear and greed index readings at similar market structure points in the market is not a coincidence. You know, this is something that I really want you guys to take very, very seriously. Now, it's not as simple as this, right? Because if that's the only thing I could go off, then actually I would be very bullish right now. But the truth is, I'm not. I don't think that this looks good anyway. You know, despite what I just said in terms of time, sure, you know, I mean, it would make sense if this correction is over now. And when we consider the actual drop in terms of percent, yeah, to our current price, we're down by 30%. Wow, that was very accurate, that that guess that I made. And down to the low, we're actually down by 39%. So this is usually the maximum loss that Bitcoin ever has inside of a bull market, yeah? Right? And this is important because, you know, back in 2017, a lot of you guys will know if you've been around since then, back in 2017, Bitcoin was forming big corrections, but they were never really bigger than minus 40%. If you look at this from high to low, this was a minus 39%. If you look at this correction right here, I know they don't look so extreme, but that's because I'm on the logarithmic chart. So these are actually very extreme moves. Minus 33 from high to low, minus 33 from high to low, minus 39. You get the picture. Bitcoin very consistently crashes by this much, but very consistently is okay as long as it doesn't crash by more than 40%. And we didn't do that. We didn't do that. And again, we're at a point right now where, as I've just demonstrated to you, I think people are feeling really extreme levels of fear right now. You know, one of the key things that I want to be able to do at times like this in this market is really step back, zoom out from the bullshit, and just look at, well, let's imagine I have no money in this market. I don't care what could happen, which, by the way, is the only way to safely trade these markets, in my opinion. What would I be thinking now? You know, if I have no emotional involvement, if I have no shock, if I have not been looking at this chart over the past couple of days, so I haven't already got very strong opinions on the market, what would I be seeing? And let me point out something pretty obvious to you that I'm seeing when I start to take a little bit more of a realistic eye. Bam, look at that. I'm seeing something that looks a little bit like this, right? This does mean that we're below the support level by quite a bit, but on what daily candle? You know, I mean, this dump largely initiated after the UTC daily candle closed and open, and so it's very possible that just within the next day, this can turn out to be a fake out and Bitcoin closes higher. This is the kind of thing that I want to start imagining right now. Do I think it's actually going to happen? Not necessarily, but it's very important to start considering these things, because it could mean, at least, if this market truly is going to get really bearish, what's going to sign this off even more? A beautiful kiss of death. It's one of those things where you drop down massively, you form a relief rally up to old support, bam, support right here, you find new resistance, and then you drop down. This is what really screws people over. This is what happens when your ex comes back to you and sends you naughty pictures with their next partner. That's the level of pain that people are going to be feeling when the market does something like this. It is absolutely brutal. And that, I think, is something that I want to keep in your minds right now, right? These are the kind of things that are possible right now. I'm not telling you that they're going to happen, but if you don't acknowledge that this stuff is possible, and then it happens, you're going to be really shocked and you're going to be completely unprepared for it, and that might cause you to lose a lot of money. Very, very important point. If you guys are finding this video useful right now, do me a favor and smash that like button. If you're new to this YouTube channel, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, tick the bell, do all of that good stuff. If you like this content, that's what this channel is all about. I'm live with you guys at approaching 7 a.m. here in the United Kingdom. We don't have a sun in winter, so unfortunately the gray sky is probably just going to keep getting a little bit brighter as I carry on with this one with you all tonight. So that's an important thing that I want to point out. In terms of the big support that I've been looking at for Bitcoin, the biggest one that I've been holding a lot of my case on was the one-day Ichimoku Cloud. And again, it's too soon to draw a conclusion off this, in my opinion, but this is not looking good. We usually will never fall below. So see, the only good argument I can see for this cloud right now is that Bitcoin actually manages to go back up and it doesn't actually close below the cloud. As long as our daily candle right here does not close below the cloud, I'm okay with what's happening right now. That means we have to be able to reverse back up and we have to be able to close at least above 48,000 to have some hope of a recovery in the next few days. Why in the next few days? I will maybe get into that a little bit later. That's a very important note for why I think the bulls have a window right now. The reason I don't want to talk about it just at this moment is that all VIP members have already heard me talking about this inside of ForFlies VIP, which you can join by following these steps on screen. Pause the video now and check it out. My assistant is live and he can send you all the information about ForFlies VIP so that you can get inside while you watch this live stream. I already broke that down for them inside of VIP, so I don't want to repeat that just yet. I might do it later on if I remember or if you guys remind me, but that is an important note, is that, we do have a potential bullish window just for the next few days, but the only way to retain that, in my opinion, is if Bitcoin manages to close above 48, and that's still very much doable, right? The daily candle has only just started. We've got like 20 days left in this 20 hours left, something like that. And so, we're doing very well in terms of time, in my opinion, to let this market rise back up. And that could put us in a good state with the one-day Ichimoku Cloud. But as it stands, we're not in a good place. It's actually really, really weak, in my opinion. And that's because even if we manage to close up in this cloud, we still have a wick which shot massively below it, which is just way too much weakness. The reason that we're seeing such big dumps, ladies and gents, which, a lot of people, they really struggle to accept this truth, the reason that we see such big dumps in these markets is because traders are not buying on the way up. I'm sorry, traders are not selling on the way up. Very, very important nuanced point to understand. I know that you guys wouldn't have wanted to pay attention to me when the market was rising up, when I was saying the same things. And those of you who are subscribed, you're gonna know all about that. I was warning you about exactly this point as the market was going up, and only those of you who had a very strong ability to distance yourself from your opinions will have listened to me on this point, is that when these markets are rising up, especially recently, there haven't been sellers. And so the reason we've been rising up is because nobody's trying to sell Bitcoin, and there's a little bit of stable buying demand, and that keeps pushing the price up. As soon as sellers try to enter the market, there aren't actually enough real buyers in this market to sustain the selling pressure, so then we start to crash, because selling a little bit dumps the market by a lot, and obviously that can start triggering even bigger cascading waterfalls. That's what these are called. They look like waterfall sell-offs. That's what can cause them, is that these, relatively, I mean, largely speaking, they're fucking huge orders, but in terms of the finance world, relatively small orders can cause such big market drops, is because in situations like this, we just don't have enough buying pressure to sustain the sell-off. And so what starts to happen in situations like this, sorry for the moving, what starts to happen in situations like this is that the market starts dropping a little bit, but then it starts triggering stop losses, and people start getting liquidated. And that probably only happened at about over here, because this is below the prior swing low. So a lot of people who went long in this region will have had their stop loss just below the prior swing low. That's just normal, good stop loss etiquette. If I went long at this level, which is something I wanted to do but didn't end up doing, just because I didn't feel it was completely right, which again has proved to be a very good decision, my stop loss would have also been over here, which means that from my entry point, let's say I entered right in the middle of this range, I would only stand to lose about 2% of my money. This is a good stop loss. But what starts to happen at points like this is that you start triggering all of the stop losses right here. You start getting people liquidated on their positions right here. And if you've ever done any trading in the margin, in derivatives, in Bitcoin derivatives, you're going to know that in order to close a long position, which means that in order to close a buying position, you need to sell, right? If I buy Bitcoin, just normal Bitcoin, I can buy it anywhere, like on Coinbase, I'm going to be opening a position. And the only way I can close that active trading position is if I sell it. And so that means I need to put more gas onto this fire, which is already burning like crazy, and that's what leads these big dumps to happen. And if you don't have the buying pressure to sustain all of that crazy shit being piled on top of each other, well then you're gonna get really big market crashes, and that alone is gonna cause the price to drop. And now we start factoring the fact that people are gonna be scared, and Bitcoin is losing support, so we're losing even more demand, right? That's a great recipe for disaster. But look at where it stops. I mean, the fool that would have sold down here, it's a support level. It's a key support level. It's the final support level that I was outlining for you guys, where I think if we drop below that, we would still have support. Don't get me wrong, the 30k region is full of support, but the point is, and the point I've been making since Bitcoin is trading all the way up here, guys, remember this chart I was showing you, not this one. Where is this chart? I don't even know. Bam, right here, where I was highlighting each point that I was, each point that I was concerned about for Bitcoin, where I told you we could start getting big drops. I actually entered a short position on this drop as well and made some money on it. I actually made up to 32% profit there, which is pretty much the whole drop right now. And I made that just trading one small move, which goes to show just how easy making money can be in these markets. Of course, that went inside of VIP as well. It was at times like this where obviously you can start to anticipate these things and prepare for them, but obviously if you don't even know about this, you're going to be dead in the water before it even happens. And that's unfortunately just, it's how a lot of things in these markets move, is that there's a lot of pent-up pressure in moves like this, and then the market releases that pressure and it's almost like Yellowstone erupting. But we already knew, the point is we already knew that this was a potential area of support for the market, because this is where Bitcoin bottomed out recently with a huge correction. And so one of the key areas of support was this range right here, and I had this drawn on another chart, which I think is this one. Bam. Actually, this is not the true range. The true range was a little bit smaller. Yeah, but it's somewhere basically around this yellow line, that support area that I was talking about. You know, and so this was a potential area for Bitcoin to bounce, and bounce we did, but it turned out to be a dead cat bounce, a relief rally, and we've then continued to move lower. So you can really start to see how right now this market is in pain, but the next areas of support that we had were probably going to be right around over here at the $50,000, $49,000 area. It's just because there's some, you know, kind of consolidation around the beginning months of this year, a big reversal point from here which triggered a dead cat bounce, little bit of resistance, right? That's a potential area of support. But then the other big area of support is probably just going to be a box that looks a little bit like this, stretching between $41.5 and $40,000, potentially acting as support for Bitcoin. And that's pretty much exactly where we found a bounce from. We can even, if I want to be cheeky, extend this box a little bit higher just to accommodate for the top of this swing high, to show you that the resistance range is actually pretty wide. Again, in this way, I can draw it from 40,000 to 42,000, which is, I don't know, roughly like a 3.5% price range, which I think is a, yeah, pretty 4.8% price range. I think that's a pretty respectable, you know, resistance box to be drawing in the market. And so to see that we end up, you know, using this area as support shouldn't be surprising. But again, this is the kind of thing that happens when you're watching these markets in real time and you're shitting yourself because you were already over allocated in bad positions before, and so on, and other bad decisions compounded on top of another. And the primary problem that you get into when you start being in those positions at times like this is that now your mental psyche is shot. You know, now you've lost your confidence and you can't trade and you can't reason with yourself and you can't commit to good ideas in the future, and you're just getting shot and hurt from so many different directions. And this is at the time where, had you just been a little bit more patient, you know, and you had, you know, followed your principles that you probably had already set out but ignored, you would actually be in a completely safe headspace to make good decisions and move forward. You know, that is very much the difference between, you know, entering the game as a trader and then going through war to toughen up and then either quit because you can't handle it, or put up the fight and struggle massively, but then end up getting the reward for it. Obviously very, very difficult, and you guys know the deal with VIP, how I'm trying to bridge that gap, because I feel like I've been able to do that very well. You guys have seen the results here. By the way, it's times like this I want to remind you guys about the guy who joined VIP with $30,000 and then turned it into $1 million within 10 months, and by now it's significantly higher, I'm sure, because this message is quite old. People are making money like this at times like this in this market. So if you want to jump inside the VIP group and see how these next people are going to be looking at gains like that in this market, then you can jump inside here. We've only had a recent profit coming off this kind of price action, so I'm definitely not feeling the pain of this. I know that others in VIP aren't either, which makes us very prepared for the next moves, and that is a powerful position to be in. So definitely follow these steps on screen if you want to get inside. And just while I keep this on screen for a second, I want to start taking a look at your comments. If you have any questions, please do me a favor and drop them in the comment section right now in the live chat. Write my name, Sammy Loyal, so that I see your message. Write at, you know, like your emails, the at symbol, Sammy Loyal. My name should pop up, and I will answer your questions right now in this live stream. As I see that some of you guys, quite a lot of you guys have already reached out about Flies VIP, so you are getting responses as we go through in this live stream if you are interested in jumping in on the other side. Of course, I'm going to be making every trade on Bybit as well, and that's also linked in the description down below, where you can sign up and get some extra free cash deposited into your account as a thank you for using my sign up link that I've put in the description. So all you got to do is sign up, make your first deposit, you're going to get some free cash, and you'll be able to trade on the only exchange that I'm using, which is definitely one that I love, been working with for a while. So I got some questions. Someone wants to know about Matic. I'll take a look at Matic a little bit later. I don't want to get into altcoins right now. I want to stick to Bitcoin. I haven't even done like half of my Bitcoin analysis right now. I mean by now. So I do want to snap back to the Bitcoin stuff, but I just want to take a quick break to take a look at some of these questions as I'm going through this. Definitely reach out for VIP if you haven't done so already, if you want an update on the pricing, because it has changed quite a lot. And then VIP, and it's changed in the good direction, by the way, it's gone down. And then of course Bybit for that free cash. Let's see what else we've got here. Is Bybit available in the USA? Almost nothing is, to be honest, mate, but when I was out there I was using a VPN. No comment for you. How long does it take to dump 90%? How long did it take in 2017? In 2017 we didn't dump by 90%. It would probably take over a year to dump by 90%, I would imagine. That's a big crash. You know, Bitcoin would have to go from here to $7,000. I don't think that's happening. Let's see what else we have here. Glad I closed my leverage longs. Good stuff, Daniel. That's a good move. Is 5k a good re-entry level? Do I expect 30k support to break in the bear market when that comes? Cooper, I don't think that we're in a bear market, so I don't think we're going as low as 30, but if we did, I would definitely be expecting one bounce. But the problem is, see, I'm expecting a bounce if we drop down to this level. Now, here's a bounce, but the issue is I don't know how high this bounce is going to be. Is the bounce even going to be that high at all, or might it just peak a few $1,000s higher? Or will it peak $10,000 higher? Or will it peak $5,000 higher? And then from there, do we trade sideways or do we trade down? And you can start to see how there's a lot of different possibilities that I need to ask myself in order to answer your question, which is, will we drop below it? At first, no, I don't think we will, but what happens after that largely depends on what happens directly before. So I can't give you an answer on that. That's one of the reasons that I don't like doing long-term predictions, guys. You never see them on this YouTube channel other than the one long-term prediction, which is that I think Bitcoin is going to double its all-time high, which would put it at 130. And that's my conservative prediction. That's the one that I think will definitely happen. 110,000 as per the thumbnail today, or 130,000, for example. I think that stuff is definitely going to happen, just in the very long term, not necessarily soon. And I think that's an important note, is you know, the more you try and predict further ahead in the future, the less likely you are to be correct. You have to start multiplying probabilities together, and I want to make this point extremely clear to you all. Guys, let me know in the live chat right now if you find this useful. Just drop a yes or no within 1 minute after you hear this explanation. Let me know if you want to keep on seeing stuff like this. But the key thing that I want to point out right here is that if I tell you that the probability of getting a bounce off 30k, let's say in my opinion that probability is 80% that we get a bounce, well then I'm going to put in 0.8 in a calculator, which represents 80%, and I'm going to multiply this by the next probability, which is that you're asking me, will the market drop below support? Well, then I think if we end up falling back down to this area, we have, let's say, a 50% chance of holding support the next time. So I'm going to multiply this 80% odd with a 50% odd, and this is the chance that I think Bitcoin can actually bounce back up. But then the percentage, it gets even crazier, because then, maybe I think there's a 10% chance of a third dump, of a third pump off support, so then I'm going to be multiplying this by 0.1, and you can just start to see how this stuff gets crazier and crazier and crazier as you keep on multiplying probabilities together, which I think is very important to keep in mind. It might not be a 50% chance of a second pump, it could be a 65% chance, and then the third pump could be, a 48% chance, and the numbers are impossible to predict because of that, which is why I only want to be looking at the direct next move and nothing more, nothing less, because I can make money off it, but I don't need to start trying to make ridiculous predictions, because I don't have a crystal ball. But what I do have is a good sense of the market and some real simple technical analysis skills where I can position myself to just get in and get out and have it all automated, because you guys know that I very rarely make quick trades, right? I usually plan my trades days out in advance. I don't know why a lot of people think I'm a day trader. I'm not. I usually plan my trades days in advance, and then I have all of my orders executed, and one day I'm just driving down the road or I'm on a plane, or whatever the hell's happening in my life, and the order opens and it secures the profit and the position closes. And it's all automated because I set all of the orders in advance. And by the way, that stuff is all shown inside of VIP. Of course, if it goes wrong, and it does go wrong sometimes, the trade will open, it will trigger my stop loss, and I won't even know about it until I pull over, say 3 hours later, because I'm driving through Switzerland. And so, these are examples of where, you're going to have a better chance, in my opinion, of performing well in these markets if you've already been forming plans in the past. Very, very important note, I think, to keep in mind right there. But I want to know about this percentage probability calculation stuff if you guys found that useful, so bear with me as I take a look at these comments right now. Okay, a lot of you guys saying that you do find it useful, so that's good. I'll continue doing this. Let's go back to the Bitcoin analysis. So one of the key things that I think is going to happen, this forms a key part of my analysis, this is obviously a very long live stream, guys, is that I think Bitcoin is probably going to find resistance if we rise back up. And this is the same thing that I've been saying for a while, but the thing is each time we lose a crucial area of support, we need to reframe where we might find resistance. So for example, when Bitcoin was originally initiating this drop way back, again, still while I was warning you guys that things could be getting really ugly for Bitcoin, as early as at $66,000, which is now $20,000 above us. That was $20,000 ago, was when I was giving you guys these warnings, was that if Bitcoin manages to drop, it's probably gonna have to find resistance on the way back up. And so at first, when we dropped just down to 60k, that resistance level was hovering at about 64. When we dropped below 60k, that resistance became 60k, and we got rejected there 3 times, broadly speaking. And then when we dropped below that, the new area to beat became 57, which was a short trade that I was ready to take inside of VIP if Bitcoin managed to bounce back up, because I was anticipating this drop. I didn't want to chase the trend. I almost never do that because it's very, very dangerous. Sometimes I will make exceptions if I think that it's safe enough and worth the risk, but it has to have some really good reasons. And of course, I document all of them inside of the group as well. I don't leave VIPs guessing on those notes. But if we did manage to get a bounce up, I was ready to trade that move down because this area would have become resistance. And so you can start to see that the more we drop, the more we have to keep on adjusting where our key levels are in the market, and it's not like this takes a long time. I mean, I'm saying it slowly and deliberately so you guys understand it, because I'm speaking to people of all different skill and experience levels. But realistically, it's as easy as saying, okay, support was here, so it should be resistance. Support was here, so it should be resistance, and so on. This is actually a fairly straightforward, easy way to do analysis, and that puts our next area of resistance at about $53,000. And I know what you guys are thinking right now. I'm going to start talking about this resistance level, but I don't want to skip ahead there just yet. Before I talk about this resistance level at about $53,000 and why I think that Bitcoin could get a big drop down from this level if we manage to climb back up, which at the moment is about $6,000 away, I don't want to talk about that yet. I want to talk about something even more important, which is that the key thing to keep in mind with these market cycles right now, and I'm just going to remove all of these arrows and show this to you on a different chart right now, is that if I just drop a horizontal line at each of these key levels that Bitcoin had to recover upon failing them, here's a few key examples, right? And then 53 was the final one, let's say around over here. So each time we drop below a level, as long as we can rise above the prior red line, we're in a bullish market again, right? This means that we've set, in this case, a lower high. If we manage to rise above this line, we would be breaking, or we would be close to breaking that trend of setting lower highs. This is my point, is that in the next part of this market, we form a lower high right here at this red line, and then another one here, and then another one here, and then another one here. And if we manage to break that prior lower high, that's where we then have a good chance at entering a bull market. But you can start to see that at no point did we break our prior lower highs. The highs kept on getting lower. The market was still bearish. if we manage to break these prior lower highs, we would no longer be in a trend of setting lower highs. We would now be out of that trend, which means we are technically getting out of a bearish trend. Very, very important things to understand. As long as we do not reclaim previous levels, we are still what you can consider to be under the water. And I think that's very, very important to keep in mind at a market phase like this. And so these levels keep getting lower the more that the market drops, which also means that we don't need to rise as high to trigger a bull market anymore. That's a really important thing that I want you guys to keep in mind. And I know that a lot of people are going to be forgetting this when we're looking at a fear and greed reading of negative, I'm sorry, why am I saying negative, of 25, where this is actually very old data now, which is about 6 hours old. So the real reading is probably a lot lower than this right now. You don't need to feel this way if you consider the things that I'm outlining on this YouTube channel right now. You know, realistically, for Bitcoin to reinitiate a bull trend now, it only has to rise up to where it was trading 6 hours ago, or, you know, a little bit more than that, you know, plus minus, you know, an hour or two. You know, I mean, Bitcoin doesn't need to go super high. Bitcoin doesn't need to go up to 60 or above 60K, which I've been saying will be a problem for Bitcoin. And I think it's going to be a problem for Bitcoin regardless of what happens. You know, if Bitcoin manages to rise back up here, it's going to be a bit of a ceiling, I'm sure. But I also think, obviously, if Bitcoin has had enough strength to go from here all the way back up to here, well, then it should have a good amount of strength to rise up. Because I don't want you guys to forget about the pre-existing trend right now, which still on the daily time frame is pretty bullish, right? I mean, like, if we look at the price level that we're at right now, realistically, and not with our spoiled eyes, but realistically, we're still in a good place in this market, and we're getting really good corrections. I mean, we're rising up, we're forming big vicious corrections, rising up, forming a big vicious correction. You know, I mean, if for nothing else, to at least just paint, for example, a right shoulder so that we have a head and shoulders pattern, a move up makes sense to me. And that's something that I think is very, very important. So if I circle back to my original point here with the analysis, I think that $53,000 can start acting as resistance for Bitcoin, because it makes a lot of sense that we rise back up there. But lately, we haven't been breaking those prior highs. And actually, the prior high is a lot higher than that. It's all the way up at about $60,000, or if I want to be very generous, I could say that's about 58,000, but in any case, it's still more than $10,000 away. But the key support area, if Bitcoin was able to reclaim it, would be this one right now, in my opinion. So I think that's very, very important to keep in mind as Bitcoin is trading down at this yellow line right here, which is the $47,000 level. And I really need a glass of water because I've been talking for about 45 minutes straight, so bear with me. Sorry for the rustling. I do not have my normal setup. Yeah, I did not expect that a move like this to be happening so soon after I fly. Which is why you don't even have my webcam today. But here we are, still rocking on with this live stream. So if you are finding it useful, again, you know what to do. Smash up the likes right now. Tick the bell, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Obviously, you've probably worked out pretty well by now that this channel is super tied in with reality. I'm not trying to sugarcoat things. I'm giving it to you exactly as it is, and that puts you in a very powerful position to form serious, healthy opinions on these markets. And if you find that useful and you're able to value that, then do me a favor, show the algorithm that you like this video, show the algorithm that other people will like these videos, so I keep on making these and the channel's growing. And of course, it will also guarantee that you keep on getting recommended videos like this from me and from other people, because YouTube will get a better sense of what you want the more you engage with its algorithm. So it's actually it's one of the best things about the tech world is the more you engage, the more you get out of it, which I think is really cool. Other people who are pessimists will say, oh no, it's a bad thing because my data and all that, but they still love the privileges that it gives them until they realize you know, the privacy that they've lost which is a funny one, I think, because it comes at a trade-off, and this is a trade-off where realistically I think if everyone had to choose one or the other, yeah, I want to see how many people would retreat to farms wearing tinfoil hats and just providing for their family with a few pigs and cows. You know, it's just not going to happen. Most people are going to pick this. But anyway, that turned a little bit too philosophical for what a 7 a.m. stream. I guess a 7 a.m. stream can be anything. Bloody hell. Haven't done one of these for a long time anyway. Let's see what's going on in the live chat before I get back to the analysis. The next thing I want to talk about is what a rejection from the 53k level could look like. If we get a rejection, if we don't get a rejection, what I think might happen. So stick around for that. I'm just going to see if I can go through a few questions right now. And just while I'm doing that, thank you to all of you who've hit up that like button. We are at 800 likes. Let's get this over 1,000. That should be fairly easy work today, which is very cool. Let's see what else we've got here in the comments. Larry's down by 2 million. Shit happens, man. I'm sure you're used to it. If you've been in the markets for any length of time, you'll know that this is quite normal. So it's definitely not something to be too worried about, in my opinion. Good Christmas gift, buying more XRP. That's sad. But I'm sure XRP has dropped anyway. Let's take a look at that. XRP against the dollar down by 22%, Bitcoin down by 12%. That's an interesting dynamic right there. The classic shitcoin performing twice as bad as Bitcoin on a bad day. So I love to see it. I do. It fills me with a lot of joy, for sure. Cardano also dropping down very hard, right through the crucial support level that I was outlining for Cardano right here. I'm seeing the support stretching all the way down to $1, anything below $1, and I think this coin is finished. But as long as it's able to keep above this $1 level, I think it's going to be completely fine. I've already covered with VIPs today some very in-depth analysis on Cardano. For those of you who like these videos, but you want something that's a little bit more tailored to the real trading side of stuff, because most of this content is just analysis, which is good and essential in my opinion to good trading. But the other half of it, which you don't get on these public videos, is those private VIP videos. I just made a very in-depth one on Cardano. But to give you a small teaser of what I said, or one of the key things I said about Cardano, it is that there is basically no support below this $1 level until we drop down to about 40 cents, because this is the next area that we can see the market consolidated at, and it's also a very important prior swing high, which means that this has a very psychologically charged this is going to be a very psychologically charged level on the market, this 40 cents area. But it does mean that from the bottom of my line, which is at $1 exactly, this thing needs to drop really low in order to be able to climb, in order to be able to find support, which obviously means that it's actually in a potentially really dangerous situation. So that is something to keep an eye on, but that doesn't apply unless Cardano drops below $1, and we're still quite far away from that, so I don't want to be jumping to conclusions just yet. Let me go back to the live chat here. If you do have a question and you absolutely want to make sure that I see it, then you must write at Sammy Loyal in your comment, and let it autofill to click my name, because if you don't, I will probably not read your message. Let's see what other questions we have here before I flick back to the Bitcoin analysis in just a minute to talk about the best case scenario that I'm seeing for Bitcoin right now. If you are excited for it, again, you know what to do. Show the algorithm a little bit of love for this YouTube video right here. Let's see what else we got here. How about VeChain? I don't want to look at alts right now. I am looking at Cardano just to make a point, but I'm not too interested in alts at the moment. I'll go to alts when I really have finished my Bitcoin analysis, so I'll ask you guys specifically for alts a little bit later. But if you have specific questions to Bitcoin, now is your chance before I move on. Is it good to buy now or wait more? I'm not your financial advisor, man. But one thing I will say is I like to buy when people are fearful. Even if the market is going to drop a little bit more. My argument is, what difference does it make if you buy Bitcoin at, right now 47k, or if you buy it tomorrow at 40k? What difference does it make if Bitcoin is already at, say, 150? which is a range that I think is very perceivable. I like the idea of dollar cost averaging, for example, perhaps just buying, $100 worth of Bitcoin every day for 14 days straight if you have a budget of 2.4K, and only initiating that dollar cost averaging strategy upon a big dump like this in the market. That would be a very healthy strategy, in my opinion. If you tried to do that in this market, you would have been buying every single day while the market consolidated over here, and you would have gained an average entry price of 42K, which is absolutely crazy. So realistically, not many people are going to have the balls nor the foresight to do something like that. But my point is when you consider the markets in that kind of way, you can start approaching them with a little bit more of a methodical approach, which will take you out of wondering these very ground level problems, so you can start tackling the higher ones, which are definitely more conducive to trading results. Is this the end of Bitcoin? No. Is now the time for Ethereum? Well, Ethereum's doing really well. I will look at this later because this needs some time on its own. It lost a lot of value against Bitcoin, which is one of the things that I predicted, but it didn't quite go as low as I wanted it to. It went close to my target, but my target was roughly around this blue line, so we didn't quite get there, and we've now started to rise back up against Bitcoin. And if you look at the percentage loss, Bitcoin has lost 12% compared to Ethereum's 8%. So Ethereum is actually doing about 50% better than Bitcoin right now, or 30%. I don't know the math, but pretty impressive nonetheless. I'll talk about Ethereum a little bit later, but the main thing that I want to say is that I think this is an anomaly. I think that if the market actually is in a state that's as bad as it looks right now, then I find it very hard to believe that Ethereum can have anything good in stock for itself over these next days. I am surprised by the strength, which is a reason that I don't want to speculate a little bit too much, because I feel like if I just give it a little bit more time, I might gather a bit more information and understand this picture a little bit better, which is very important. You are never obligated to make an opinion or trade a certain direction in any market ever, and you ought to keep that in mind, because that will, keeping this in mind will let you know for sure that you're keeping your money safe, and that you're not taking unnecessary risks. And again, that's probably the worst thing that can happen at a time like this, because this alone is going to really confuse a lot of people in this market. But imagine now that you've also lost a shitload of money on this drop. I mean, you're wrecked. I mean, it's going to be only a few things can get you out of that bad of a mental headspace, and one of them is probably just taking a break for a really long time. But nobody wants to do that when the market is this hot. That's my point, is when you're making ground level mistakes and you're suffering the consequences of those mistakes at times like right now, that means that you're missing out on big opportunities. This is really the difference between those of you who are initiated and those of you who aren't, which is one of the reasons that I try and keep my mental headspace really, really clean, very well insulated from joy and from sadness. I don't want both emotions. I don't want the happiness from a win, and I don't want the sadness from a loss. Because if I have the happiness, it means I must also endure the sadness. And if I have the sadness, it means that my decision making will be compromised. And even the happiness will mean that my decision making is compromised. Very, very important and different way to look at these markets. A lot of people play these markets like a fucking roulette machine. And you know what? You do you. If that's what you want to do, it's only going to make the job of someone like myself easier. But at the end of the day, I don't need to say it. That is not the way you approach these markets. This is not a casino. This is not a bloody, a coin machine. This is a real world market. It's not a real world market. This is a real tech market, and it ought to be treated with that level of care and attention that it deserves. Not just looking for a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. That's very irresponsible. Let's go through a few more questions and then back to the analysis. Is this a bear trap? Very possible that I think it is. Very possible. Actually, why is it dumping? Who is selling? Well, I covered this a little bit earlier on in this live stream, and I gave you guys a very technical explanation of this, so I don't want to repeat this for those of you who have been watching. So do me a favor, this whole live stream is packed very, very densely with a lot of information. If you're just tuning in now, or you've skipped ahead to this level, go back and rewind it. Put it on in the background, start it now, pick it up later if you're a little bit busy. Let these ideas cement in your head. I'm only presenting questions and facts to you. I'm not trying to push you to think in any particular way. Let yourself come to those conclusions when I lay out the facts for you, so that you don't need to spend the time finding them yourself. That's the best way that you can start to answer questions like that in this market, I think. You know, and so I have already answered that question. Just to be very, very brief, primarily I think because, well, it's a lot of different factors which are bad for Bitcoin immediately getting triggered within the space of like 1 minute, and I've explained fully why that happens. And if you're wondering where I did, that was probably, I don't know, between 20 and 30 minutes ago, but I don't know, so you'd have to probably rewatch the whole thing. Sorry about that. Let's see what other questions we have in this comment section today. What is my Bitcoin end of year prediction taking into account this dump? So again, according to, you know, along the lines of what I said before, it's very hard to predict already what the next move might be. It's not actually that hard, but I mean, it's hard enough to predict what the next exact move might be from here. But in order to predict what's going to happen by the end of this month, I would have to predict what's going to happen on December the 5th and December the 6th and 7th and 8th through to 31st in order to tell you my end of year prediction. To just give you one now would be extremely naive, and so I don't want to do that at the moment. I don't entertain questions like that because they can't make me money. I can rub myself off to them, or I can be a little bit sad about them, but I can't do anything with them in terms of increasing my wealth. So it's not an important question for me to consider. Can I speak about when I expect 130k? Has the market cycle got extended? Yeah, this market cycle is super slow, which is very, very interesting. Nobody's talking about this, but this market cycle is really, really slow, which is one of the reasons that I'm still optimistic about it. You know, we only broke the prior all-time high back in December of 2020, which was just a year ago now, a little bit less than a year, about 350 days ago. But then Bitcoin was only setting brand new all-time highs for about 120 days. And usually Bitcoin sets all-time highs that are brand new for a lot longer of a time frame than 120 days. This is very short. And so I definitely think that Bitcoin has at least, you know, probably another 100 days of actively setting brand new all-time highs, and where that can take it, I have no idea. All I can say is get the lube out, because you are going to love what I'll be saying at those times in these markets, and I know that's going to excite a lot of people, because four flies, the people who some people the person who some people will be considering a perma bear, someone who's permanently bearish, although realistically just staying grounded. A lot of people think that staying grounded is bearish, which I think is really funny, especially at times like this, because you realize it was 100% the right thing to have done the whole time, but your ego won't let you accept it, so you keep on repeating the same damn mistake until you go bankrupt. Yeah, I know, because I've been there. You know, that's where the real fun does happen, I think. So yeah, interesting time. Let me head back to the analysis now. I don't want to go through any more questions just for the moment. And one of the key things that I said I would be tackling right here is what happens if Bitcoin manages to rise up to that $53,000 level. So you know, I think the key thing we would probably be able to expect is going to be a rejection, because if we manage to rise up to $53,000 off the low that we set, that means Bitcoin will have risen up by 25%. That is a very, very big dead cat bounce, considering that the whole dump will have only been roughly a 28% move. So we would be effectively cancelling out that whole move just by rising up here. And that's a very important thing to note. Again, just another key thing that I really want to get across to you guys. Bitcoin dumped here by 28.4%. But for Bitcoin to pump up by 28.4% now, you're not going to be at break even. You're still going to be roughly 8% below your break-even point, which is a very important note to keep in mind. You are always going to be fighting an uphill battle if you have to recover your money, which is a very, very important reason for why I take it so seriously to avoid losses. These are things that you don't learn until you've actually been in the trenches and you've gotten fucked in the markets. Until and unless that happens, you're just not going to care about stuff like this. But when it happens enough, And I'm telling you this again just because I took a really long time to learn. But for God's sakes, I was 15 years old when I started to trade. You know, it took me a long time as a teenager to start to accept these realities and build a little bit more patience in these games. You know, but it's very important to be able to avoid losses like that, because you have to work double as hard to recover where you were just to get back up to break even, which is why losses are a much bigger deal than just minus 20% or minus 6%. It's not that, it doesn't end there. And that's before we even consider your mental state, which is why I always preach about safe, healthy trading. It's really at times like this where strategies like what I have are going to be shining quite nicely now, because it means that I'm insulated from this and I can continue to exercise good judgment in this market, which will hopefully put me ahead overall as time goes forward. So again, I mean, if you're super short term, you know, as I've said before, and you don't plan on being in these markets for a long time, then you don't need to care about this stuff, but you're also most likely not going to be successful. If you have a slightly longer term outlook on this, you know, perhaps 6 months or more, you know, and 6 months up to many years, well, then you have to care about this, because you have to genuinely improve yourself as a trader and a person in order to function in these markets in any healthy capacity. Very, very important to keep in mind. Anyway, moving back to the analysis here, because it's going to be a 25% pump from the support level, I think that really would qualify this as being a dead cat bounce, which is something that I would be concerned about. Now, like I said, if there's any time that Bitcoin can recover back up, I think it's going to be very soon. And so I'll just say that Bitcoin has, for example, a 48-hour gap to recover this price action. Let's say by the 6th of December, which is, I don't know, let's actually just calculate how many hours away that is. That's 2 days and 17 hours. It's a little bit too far. Let's just say, yeah, at the 48-hour mark, which is probably around over here. If Bitcoin is not above 53,000, it's probably not going above 53. And so anything that happens in the next 2 days probably is going to be part of a V-shaped correction, or not probably, but has a fairly high percentage chance of being a V-shaped correction that takes us back up, and then everything is fine and we're back above resistance and everyone's dancing again and it's back to champagne on private jets with beautiful models. But if that doesn't happen within these next 48 hours, well, then I think that if Bitcoin does manage to, let's say pump up a little bit, rise up here and then hit 53, it's no longer really forming that V-shaped correction bounce, because a V-shaped correction would be looking a little bit like this, but we will have traded up and then stopped and then traded sideways and then traded up again, and we'll probably start to see at that time that volume is declining, which is another key thing that I was outlining to you guys in this market overall, is that volume was declining. We don't actually have that just now where I was showing it to you, so I'm not sure where I got that from, but I did show it for sure, I just don't remember where. And we'll probably start to see that same sign repeating in this market now, potentially indicating that Bitcoin will need to drop down, and that's I think something that could definitely be happening coming up to that 53k level, which is why after this initial bullish window has closed for Bitcoin, I think that it's going to have a significantly higher chance of not penetrating the support level and instead finding resistance and then trending back down. And what I'm saying right now strengthens even more the longer that Bitcoin spends after this red line below 53k. So for example, if Bitcoin trades up a little bit over here and then trades down and then kind of zigzags up a little bit like this, we're going to be forming a classic rising wedge. But in this instance, we're coming back up to 53 after losing it after 15 days, compared to 2 days, or compared to 5 days. We're up here after 15 days. The longer we take, the more likely it is that we're going to be in another continuation pattern before this thing takes another leg down, which would be classic in that typical staircase pattern that I always talk about, where Bitcoin trades down, forms the step, and takes another leg down. Very, very typical price action for Bitcoin to follow. The sun has now finally risen here in London. It's 7:30 a.m. Hell of a live stream to be doing at this hour right now, and for some reason I'm still beaming with energy. I didn't take anything. I had like a Red Bull 16 hours ago. I have no idea how I'm still going right now. I think it's literally just that times like this in this market are very fun. I see them as massive opportunities, and I'm getting fired up thinking about the opportunities I have to trade it. So that to me is very exciting. You'll also probably see that and, you know, any indicators that can predict resistance are going to start painting resistance up here in the future. You know, resistance isn't going to be around the 53k range yet. We might see it just at about, you know, 54. But the longer we spend at these levels, the more we will see resistance kind of forecasting what I'm saying. So if we look at the 4-hour Ichimoku Cloud, you can already start to see that resistance in the future is actually stretching all the way down right now to $50,000 already, just as of the 9th of December. So it could really be a very ugly few days in this market right here, and resistance is going to keep on catching up to show that to us as well. You know, on the 1 hour time frame, we're starting to potentially see that resistance just at 50k. So this is the key thing I want you guys to keep in mind. You know, 53 doesn't necessarily have to be the magic number. It's just any level that can potentially act as resistance. Be super careful of it. That is something important to keep in mind. We now have basically every indicator showing us that we're bearish, even on the daily time frame. The only real indicator that was showing us we're still bullish on the daily time frame was the Ichimoku Cloud, and we've now lost that. And so this does mean to me that if we can't make a recovery quickly, we're probably not going to make one, and this can turn into a longer correction. But the other thing that, again, I got to keep in mind for you guys is a very, very important note. And the reason that I'm not making any brash decisions, this is where, you know, this analysis stuff, it's a delicate balance. You know, you can't just make one conclusion and then run with it. You really have to give it some real thought. And, you know, of course, that's what I'm aiming to deliver to you inside of VIP. So you can see exactly what I'm thinking in all of the same detail that I convey right here and more. You know, is that the market in terms of sentiment is pretty weak right now. You know, in terms of where we are right now, in this time window gap, one of the first things I said in this live stream, which you'll already know if you've rewinded it, is that we've seen a reading of 25, extreme fear, around 25, when the market was over here in this time window, and the next time that we've seen that same reading is right in this time window as Bitcoin is trading at $47,000, which I think is very important to keep in mind with that, with what happened before, because previously we saw a big move up and then a big correction. And this is exactly where the market bottomed out, is when the fear and greed index was showing us that we're now in extreme fear. And then the market rallied up massively and then dropped again massively. And this is exactly where we have the same reading on the fear and greed index. So we're right now following a very, very similar sequence of events. And that is something I want to keep in mind for you guys. You know, Bitcoin will have certain characteristics in its trend, and if you're able to identify them, you're going to be able to profit from them. This is a key characteristic of its trend, which I think is important to keep in mind as this market plays forward. Let's see, take a quick look at the chat and everything, just make sure everything's fine. Again, guys, if you are enjoying this video, do me a favor and smash up the like button. Let's get this thing over 1,000 likes. I don't know if we're over 1,000. We might be over 1,000 already. If you're new to this channel, then this is all about very realistic, in-depth analysis delivered in a fairly simple way, well-spoken, with a calming voice, so that you are able to form well-rounded opinions on these markets. You're not fed crap from either direction. You can just make your own decisions and evaluate the facts like any responsible human being, any responsible adult. That's what this channel is all about. Definitely a very realistic, deep dive into what's happening. And if you think you want to see more of that, then you know exactly what to do. Go ahead and smash up the subscribe button, tick the bell as well to make sure that you don't miss this very time-sensitive content. I want to talk about a potential breakout now. If Bitcoin does manage to break back up, what might happen? So if Bitcoin manages to break the 53k level, I think it's going to become significantly more likely. That means if we rise above this yellow line right here, and I'll just show you what that would look like right now. Hang on. If Bitcoin is from this position where it's trading at right now, which is, I know you can't see it very well, but this is where Bitcoin's trading right now. If it's able to recover back up above this yellow line, well then that to me would mean that it's going to be breaking its downtrend, or it's going to go a long way in breaking its downtrend. You know, the real way to break its current downtrend might be for Bitcoin to surpass 56, and obviously this resistance line is going to keep on getting lower, which means that the longer we take, the lower we have to push The less extreme the push has to be, essentially, in order to be bullish again, which is a very good thing. That means that our jobs get easier in terms of bulls. I think that if we do manage to break that 53k level right now, that would mean that Bitcoin's in quite an aggressive push. It would mean that this was largely just a scam wick and a manipulation move, which was designed to steal money from leveraged traders and things like that. Obviously exchanges perhaps planning a dump like that. It's possible, but usually you don't see wicks that are this big. And so that's why I think that this is genuine price action. I mean, if the wick is this big, it's difficult for you to say that, oh, it's just exchanges being nasty people. Usually, and that does definitely happen. Don't get me wrong, that's very, very common. But usually when you see something like that, it's not going to be, anywhere near this big. I mean, it might only be a few $1,000s, because you start to really upset the balance of business when the market drops by this much. And I think that's important to keep in mind. So that's why I got some questions about this manipulation. The first thing I'd say is actually stop jumping to that as an excuse, because it makes you feel like, it's okay if you lost money because the market was just against you, which, definitely could be true, but I much prefer the approach of saying everything is my fault and I need to figure out why and how to fix it, because that way I at least am taking responsibility, which means I'm actively working to improve my situation. And, a lot of people don't want to view the markets that way, because they don't want to be able to acknowledge reality and question themselves. But of course, if you don't have the ability to do that, then you're probably not on a path to being a very successful trader in the markets. So I think that's an important note to be keeping in mind right there. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed. We've just passed 114,000 subscribers. That is absolutely amazing. Again, smash up the likes as you are coming in here if you're enjoying this video. Like I said, I think if we do manage to break that 53k level, probably going to have a nice path to rise significantly higher, perhaps break the bear trend, which would be pretty cool. But again, I just think that the possibility of that at the moment is pretty low. I'm not super optimistic about something like that happening. Sammy is top quality, no BS, just the best TA. There you go. That's exactly what this is all about. Thank you very much for writing that beautiful comment. Let's see what else we have here in the comments. North America, we still up till 4 a.m. Is it 4 a.m. in North America? No, it's not. It's 8 a.m. in the UK. It's not 4 a.m. anywhere in America. Maybe if you're counting Brazil, but that's not North America. Let me head back to the analysis here. So I don't want to talk too much about the bullish side of Bitcoin recovering this, because at the moment I'm not so sure that any of that can happen. So the key level for me to break would be 53, and then I just kind of reevaluate it from there. But in terms of dropping, like I said, I want to start looking at how it responds to the resistance levels, because I think that that's where a lot of the problem can come in for Bitcoin. If it kind of starts consolidating for the next day or two, maybe it enters a bit of a bear flag, maybe it forms a rising wedge and it starts going up to some sort of resistance level. I want to be looking out for things like that so that I can potentially trade the next moves. The altcoin market has really opened up to look absolutely beautiful now. I'm really very excited by this. Cardano, for example, dropping to a really, really crucial support level right now. I think it would be hard to lose money buying Cardano at the moment, especially if it doesn't drop below $1. If it does, I think it's screwed, but that's my point, is this is pretty much the last support that Cardano has, until a real catastrophe happens. And I'm just curious if I take a look at, if it drops from here below its support level, which is probably going to be, let's say at like 95 cents, that's a 30% drop. So that's a risk that I'd be willing to accept. This is something that I've been talking about a lot inside of VIP, so I'm not going to say more than this, because I've given VIP some really, really in-depth, intimate details on exactly how I plan on trading this and what my preferences are. That video came in as a VIP video, which I published inside of VIP, I don't know, like 15 hours ago. So obviously planning this stuff out in advance, like I said. And yeah, that was pretty good timing. So again, if you're not already inside, now is the time to be in. I mean, this is where the big money is always made. This is where the huge results come in. Like I said, this is what I'm showing you. The dude who managed to turn 30K into $1 million. This guy, by the way, wasn't even a trader when he joined 4Flies VIP. He hadn't traded before. He's just a businessman, you know, who runs a bunch of businesses all over the world, which is very, very cool. And so he was new to the game. All he had was a bit of pre-existing capital, $30,000, and he was able to throw it in and do something very serious with it. He took our yearly offer. He had access to our advanced 4Flies Academy, which on its own is $2,700. He got it for free, and he actually had a smaller package than what yearly members get right now, because now yearly members also get phone calls with me, where I jump on a call with you as soon as you join, you know, depending on whenever you're free, and we can talk about your past performance, and we can look at what can be done moving forward to improve it, and then we can revisit this in more phone calls, you know, over the months that come, and things like that, which is pretty cool. Again, some crazy results here. This person making his first ever trade, pulling 300%. Again, I got to keep in mind for you guys that these are obviously, you know, the best of the best, you know, testimonials. There are people who also join the money and join the group and lose money. There are people who join the group and gamble and lose money because of that. There are people who join the group and learn what I do, but just can't seem to understand it and then lose money, right? I mean, this is not just, you know, you're not going to get in and all of a sudden make absolutely beautiful results. But if you put in a real amount of attention and care like these people have, I mean, you know, these are not gifted people. You know, they were just following, you know, fairly straightforward, you know, methods, and nothing too crazy. I mean, it's stuff that you'll find online if you research it yourself. It's stuff that you'll learn yourself if you just keep on, you know, losing money and losing time and learning from your lessons. Crucially, you'll probably pick up a lot of what I'm saying. But of course, you're paying a cost. You're paying, you know, with your time. You're paying with your money. And the question can be asked, you know, when if you were to invest that same money in your education, join something like 4Flies VIP, would you be looking at, you know, better results in the market while it's hot? This person in a 48-hour period pulling all of these gains, which is ridiculous, paying off a lot more just of his VIP fee, which is very, very cool. A bunch of, you know, very, very crazy results inside of the group. That's all happening right here. So do follow these steps on screen if you want information, and I'm going to head back to the comments now before I start looking at the altcoins and Bitcoin's bearish scenario, and then I'll probably wrap up the live stream. So that's probably another 40 minutes. I'm now at about an hour and 20 minutes being live, approaching 8 a.m. here in the UK, midnight in California. Yeah, shit, we're 8 hours ahead of California. That's crazy. It seems like the whole world is doing nothing when it's midnight in California. It's a weird feeling. It's not the case, I know, but it's a weird feeling. So I just want to scan these comments real quick, see what's up. Alright, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of analysis on the bearish scenario for Bitcoin, and then head over to the altcoins as well. Again, those of you who have reached out, you've all gotten responses from my team on joining our group. Let's head back to Bitcoin and talk about some of the bad things that could happen from here. You know, I think it's all about just well, losing support. I think the only real bad thing that can happen to Bitcoin right now would be losing its prior swing low. If we did, then we'd probably be dipping deep into the 30K region. I would expect this level to hold for a bounce, like I've been saying, but yeah, I just, for now, I want to hope that Bitcoin doesn't drop below 42. I don't think it will. I think we're going to see something real develop before anything close to that even happens, which is why the main thing that I want to do right now is just kind of step back a little bit and get a sense of understanding for what's going on in this market. Are we going to be forming, you know, a rising wedge? Are we going to be forming a bear flag? Are we going to form a V-shaped correction? I want to let something develop so that I'm not grasping at thin air right now. There is no rush for me to trade. I am not desperate for this in any way. I can wait. I can wait, and I'm going to be completely fine, and so I will wait. Right now, like I said, I'm seeing these opportunities starting to pop off in the altcoin markets, like Cardano, for example. You know, Link down by a lot as well, down by 20%. to $18. And keep in mind, this all-time high is up about $50. So you know, it's quite far away for Link at the moment. You know, Ethereum on the other hand actually doing pretty well. And so, you know, there are some interesting things happening across these markets right now. The other thing I want to take a little bit of a note of in this video is also the dollar, because the dollar has been performing very, very well in this global currency index, gaining a lot of value against other currencies across the world. This is an interesting dynamic because it's a time that everyone's calling for record levels of inflation about to come. People are actually buying the dollar and selling their assets in the mainstream markets. I mean, the S&P 500 dropping by quite a bit over here, right? From the all-time high to where it's at right now, it's down by about 4%. Down to the low of yesterday, it's down by 5%. And so, you know, I mean, I know that this doesn't sound like a lot, but for the S&P 500, an index of 500 companies in the United States, like 500 bloody big companies in the United States, so be dropping by 5% is a pretty big deal. I mean, the individual effect on stocks would be huge, right? Take a look at Tesla, for example, within a similar time frame, just over these past couple of days, down by 13%. That's a fairly substantial drop. Now, realistically, it's not actually that bad because it looks like it's just kind of, you know, forming a bull flag before pumping back up again. But again, just in terms of a crash, this is the kind of thing that can turn really ugly. You know, I'm sure if we looked at, for example, Amazon, we're going to start to see a similar picture right here, right? From the recent highs just in November, down by 10%. Let's take a look at Apple, obviously one of the most inflated stocks in terms of price gain at the moment. It is also down actually by 5%, so it's moving pretty well at the moment. So you know, you're starting to see that this is a move that's not just affecting crypto, but the key thing that we're getting here now, which is something that I've been very, very vocal about on this channel for a long time, and people just don't want to face this reality, and that's not going to change the reality, is that if the more conventional markets, the global indices like the S&P 500, the UK 100, actual real companies like Tesla, like Boeing, and so on, you know, I mean, if they're not performing well, and you know, the Omicron variant and so on, there's a million different reasons you can make up for this, but if these assets are not performing well, well then people are not going to, you know, mainstream investors are not going to have the confidence that they need to be able to buy an asset like Bitcoin, right? And that's going to result in you know, basically evaporating what little buying pressure there already was, and that is what really can put us in a very dangerous position. You know, a lot of people, they don't want to be accepting these kind of ideas when I'm saying it on the way up. You know, but everyone's got open ears now and the market's already dropped. But what kind of damage could have been done in this time right here, where you could have been suffering losses and so on, you know, if you weren't ready to heed these warnings? And the reason I'm pointing this out is that if you don't learn from this stuff now, a dump like this is going to happen again in the market, and you're not going to be prepared for it again, and you might lose money off it, which is a really bad position to be in. I mean, you're not better than, you know, an alcoholic or someone with an addiction to anything really, but you know, alcohol is a particularly bad addiction. You know, you're not much better than somebody like that if you will suffer through drops like this, refusing to learn, you know, fairly straightforward, simple lessons, refusing to acknowledge fairly straightforward, you know, logical arguments that just make sense. You know, I mean, Bitcoin right now needs big money to keep pushing it higher. You know, it's definitely not as much as people think is in the market, that's for sure, and we can tell that by the volume. But it does need, I mean, it's not normal wealthy people that, you know, just own one supercar and a nice house in the country of Europe or whatever, in the countryside of Europe. It, you know, that average rich guy is not going to be able to pump Bitcoin up anymore. You know, it needs to be, you know, large scale institutions that are putting their money behind these kind of risk on assets which are considered to have very high risk and very high reward, like Bitcoin. You're not going to get that big, wealthy, old, generational money flowing into an asset like Bitcoin if the bigger global markets are down, right? There's just not going to be an investor appetite for a risky play if you've already lost money. You know, it's the same in reverse. When you've already made a lot of money, that's when coins like Shiba start to pop off, and you get people like me telling you to calm the fuck down, because this thing's probably dropping to my beautiful pink line down here, which is exactly what we did. We didn't drop down to exactly 2,800, but the key number I've been saying this whole time was 3,000, and bang on the dot, that's exactly where we ended up falling down to. We fell down to 2952, as you can read up over here, which was a beautiful level for the market to bottom out at, because it's exactly the support level that I was anticipating when I made this video way back over here and warned you guys of an 80% price correction. The beautiful thing about Shiba is that, unlike Bitcoin, it's going to show me that I was correct way faster than an asset like Bitcoin, because it moves a lot faster. Inside of 37 days, it's lost 52% from the video I made, and from the all-time high to its absolute low, it lost 66%. I'm sorry, 88%. 80% is not the correct number. I misquoted myself there. It was 66%, which is still bloody massive. Still a big drop, nonetheless. So you know, I wanna play these as opportunities. This is a key low that I was saying for Shiba. If Shiba loses this low, well then I think it's gonna have to drop back down to the 900 area on this chart, and that would be a really big crash. Now we are talking about, you know, an 80%, 90% drop if we manage to drop down that low, because that is the next area of support that I'm seeing for this chart. And I don't think it's going to get there. You know, I don't think that Shiba is actually that weak. I think that this market is still going to stay in a bullish place overall. You know, I'm not actually too worried about it, all things considered. I never am at times like this, because I know that Bitcoin historically has seen worse than this, much worse than this. It really has. Bitcoin's been in much worse positions in this historically, and it's been able to recover. So, you know, things would have to be really quite disastrous, like a real crypto winter, you know, for Bitcoin to drop enough to let shitcoins like Shiba die this hard. Eventually, I'm sure it'll happen, just not yet. You know, so I do think that this support level up at 3,000 is going to be able to hold, which means that I am, you know, I mean, just on all of these altcoins right now, people are so fearful in this market. I really want to be very bullish right now. You know, and so I am going to be looking for those signs that this thing could be ready to bottom out. But like I said, one of the key things that I want to be able to evaluate right now is what kind of patterns do we form in the market now. You know, are we forming continuation patterns? Are we showing signs that this thing is going to drop back down to 42? Are we showing signs that we're going to break below 42? I want to know the full picture here, or I want to get a little bit of a better idea of the picture as it develops before making the next big judgment call in this market. So yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot to go through. Covered the altcoins and Bitcoin right there. Guys, if you're enjoying this video so far, you know exactly what to do. Show it some love for the algorithm. I want to remind you all again right here that if you don't already have an account on Bybit, or if you just like some free money deposited into your account, then all you got to do for some free cash is sign up to Bybit using the referral link that I've got for you in the description of this live stream, and you're gonna get some free money deposited into your account as soon as you sign up and make your first deposit. This is the only exchange that I use. I've been partnered with them for years. Absolutely love them. They're great for times like this in this market. Definitely the best in my opinion. You can't buy my opinion. Very important to point out. I've been using these guys for a long time, so I've experienced it firsthand, and they are definitely very reliable. You know, when you're trading with your money, you want to know that there's good infrastructure built to back it. And that's one of the reasons that that I take these guys so seriously. So definitely well worth checking out, and the link in the description will take you to that deposit page where you can get some free cash as well. So definitely well worth checking out. They've got all the pairs that you would want to trade, you know, on derivatives, for example. They've got all the shit coins. They've got the Binance coins. They've got the Shiba. They've got the Sand. They've got Doge and all the other shit. You know, it's got a lot on leverage. It is the place to be. And obviously there's a lot of spot markets too. You can buy spot against Bitcoin just on a few pairs, and spot against USDT on a lot of pairs. So very much a fully fledged major exchange, one of the biggest in the world. If you're not already on, and you don't even have at least a backup account on this exchange, you're probably not doing yourself any favors, because exchanges can run into problems at any time. This is crypto. If you haven't seen it, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I've seen it a lot where exchanges get hacked or they go down and you can't access funds and it's just a mess. You might not lose your funds necessarily, but you might definitely lose access to them at an important time to where you can't put your money behind key ideas. And if you're not accounting for that by spreading your eggs out into different baskets and having backup accounts and so on, then you're probably not doing yourself justice. So, and I'm saying that, you know, regardless of what link you use, it's just good practice to have backup accounts on many different exchanges, to be familiar with them, because you don't want to be scrambling to learn them at a time where it's very urgent. You know, right now, there is no good move to make in the market, so it's a time to learn and gather your resources for when there is a good move in the market, at least in my opinion. And that, I think, isn't here yet, so I want to be able to prepare myself for when it does come. There you go. I am going to go through a few more questions right here. So if you do have them, please do go ahead and drop them in the comments right now. And again, do make sure to tag me by writing @SammyLoyal before you write your comment, to guarantee that I will see your comment. Somebody is asking, which exchange am I talking about? I'm talking about Bybit. It is linked down below. Alright, let's see what else we got in the comments. Again, if you're joining late and so on, please rewind the live stream. There is so much value that I've packed into this live stream. It's super dense. I should be paying thousands and thousands of dollars for this, but you're getting it for free. Please try and value it that way so that you actually watch it, because this stuff, for those of you who truly are serious, this live stream is going to be super helpful. So yeah, I think that's important. Can I look at Cardano? I already have. Where can I see the chart like this? It's on a website called tradingview.com, which is linked in the description. David is saying, worst day ever. Nah, mate, this is far from the worst day ever. Wait a bit longer and you'll see the worst day ever for Bitcoin. We're not there yet. I think we're probably 6 months away from something like that. Someone's mentioned my watermark right around here bothering you. I know it's a bit annoying. Someone asked me to move it down. The reason I keep it right there is that people who try and steal my videos, they can't crop the video to remove this, because then they would only be showing, you know, this area of the screen, which wouldn't make sense. So that's why I keep it in such an awkward place, you know, around over here. I wish I didn't have to, but obviously because this content is free, a lot of people try and do nasty shit. It's just what happens in anything that's free or cheap. You're gonna get some degenerates who are doing some stupid, annoying stuff. So that's why it's there. I might move it around. I might even remove it, because you know, this stuff doesn't happen that much anymore. But yeah, a lot of people are still pretty gullible, you know, falling into scams and stuff like that. Your reasoning is sound, and I like the TA. I appreciate the validation. I'm glad you do. To a guy called This Donut. This is merely a flesh wound. I'm with you there, Steve. I'm not too worried about this at all. I'm more interested in the Bitcoin drop than the watermark. Fair enough, mate. Good stuff. Sammy, finally seeing blood in the streets. This is the type of fear we needed to go on to new all-time highs. I completely agree with you, 100%. This is a great prerequisite to rising back above and beyond that previous all-time high to significantly higher levels. So I've already given you guys a lot of analysis about Cardano on this public video, but the core analysis about how I plan on trading it, like I said, has gone into VIP, so I'm not going to talk about it now. I do share all of my results that I have in VIP publicly after, but not before, because that's what they're paying for. So if you wanna see that stuff, you can click on the first link in the description. You can join our group. Let's see what else we have here. I'm just going to take a few final questions, so if you have any final questions, please go ahead and drop them now. If not, then thank you very much for watching, and if you have found this video to be at all useful, on your way out, please do me a favor and smash the likes up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Interacting with these videos and any others are going to show the algorithm that you like them. So if you want to keep getting videos like this from me, keep getting videos like this from other people, you know, who show this level of deep thinking and reasoning skills, then your engagement will be out with the algorithm will show YouTube that you want more of this kind of stuff, which is obviously useful. So helps you, helps me, great for the whole platform. Anna saying, I watched a YouTuber just a few hours ago saying he is bullish because he thought it probably wouldn't go lower as it was repeating a past pattern. Now this. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that, you know. I mean, if you ask me what do I think about Bitcoin, I would probably have to sit you down for an hour and a half and make you listen to this live stream. Because it's a very multifaceted question, that one. So I'm not going to go through questions that I've already gone over in this live stream just as I close up. It has been an hour and a half long and it's now 8 AM, so I don't even know what to do today. Do I just power through for another 12 hours and stay up, or do I try and sleep? I have no idea what I should do with my life today. Although I do need to be able to exercise some pretty good decision making, so going to sleep would be a good idea. That is something I'll have to think about. If we entered a bear market, how long do you think it would last? I don't really think that's an important question because I definitely don't think we're entering a bear market, but if we did, it would probably last like a really long time. I mean, the last bear market we had, in order to breach $20,000, it took us about 4 years. So, no, 3 years. You know, so I think that we would be looking at, you know, at least a year up to 3, which is a big range from 1 to 3 years. But it doesn't matter because you can make moves in these markets regardless of where they're at. You know, with a normal trading style. I mean, it's really not that important what's actually happening. It's a massive head and shoulders. Zoom out and see. Yes, I did. I've covered that earlier on in this live stream. Bitcoin could, doesn't mean it is, but it could be forming a very big, very, very big, ominous, scary head and shoulders pattern. Let me show you how it looks. Here's the right shoulder, bam. Here's the head, bam, right there. Here is the, oh, that's the left shoulder, I'm sorry. And the right shoulder up here at about 53,000. It would make a lot of sense. It would. It'd make a lot of sense. Let me just move this up so it works. This is the kind of head and shoulders pattern that Bitcoin could be in. You know, so if we end up kind of, you know, forming a big shoot, a big rally up from that 40k, 42k level up to 53, 52, yeah, that would make sense as a big head and shoulders pattern, which would be very bearish because it basically shows us that we've attempted the high 3 times. We initially had enough strength to set a higher high, but then the next time we didn't have enough strength to carry on. So we formed a lower high, which is, yeah, it's a very, very bearish pattern when it works, but they're usually not very reliable. Someone's telling me to do some squats. I don't know how that's going to help me with my sleeping situation. It's only going to wake me up for about 5 minutes and then make me crash even harder. Alright guys, I think I am going to call it a live stream there, so thank you all very much for tuning in. Again, you know exactly what to do if you have enjoyed this one. It's been a very, very good one. Hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have as well. I think I am going to go ahead and choose sleep tonight. That would be a good idea. And I will. What's for breakfast? I don't know. I don't really eat breakfast. I guess I do when I'm in Dubai. Yeah, I mean, I have boring stuff, man. I'm on a pretty boring like nutrition plan right now. Just going for everything that's super healthy that my body needs, not necessarily what it craves. So breakfast lately has been looking like a bunch of minced beef and scrambled eggs and onions, and that's it. You know, very keto, very protein based. You know, because I'm working out. It's good though. I mean, I feel really good. It's an interesting one. You know, when you eat shit food, you'll feel good in the moment, but bad afterwards. And this is somewhat the opposite. I mean, I'm not necessarily feeling bad when I'm eating it. It's not that bad, but it's definitely not as exciting as, you know, a more normal breakfast. Can we watch this video after I end it? Yes, you can, Chad. Yeah, you can rewind it right now, and you can rewind it when I end the live stream, which will be right now. So I will be setting off now, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.